All right, Rich Van Tassel back with you, finishing up our game picks for Week 17 of the NFL season. And of course, we are recording audio for Get Live Radio. This is the later block of games. The Kansas City Chiefs 9-6, 3-4 on the road, travel to Denver to play the Broncos, who are 5-10, 4-3 at home. Kansas City has the division wrapped up. Let's see how much they're playing for in this one. If they're going to rest starters, who knows? The injury report for the Chiefs: Kevin Pierre-Louis, linebacker; Akeem Hunt, running back; Charkandrick Rest, running back; Tamba Ali, linebacker, are questionable. Benny Logan, defensive tackle, doubtful. So you see a lot of questionables on there. It looks like they're playing to win this game. For the Denver Broncos, Donald Stevenson, offensive tackle, is questionable. Derek Wolfe, defensive end, is an injury reserve out. Emmanuel Sanders, wide receiver. Cody Lattimore, wide receiver. Zach Kerr, defensive end, are out. Nothing on the line for the Denver Broncos. Of course, if Kansas City's playing to win, they will walk all over the Denver Broncos. I expect them to win anyway. Denver simply too inconsistent with their quarterback play all year long. It's going to be the case again in this one. Let's see who they go with, Brock Osweiler or Trevor Siemian. It doesn't really matter. The Kansas City Chiefs come away with the victory in this one, 27-13 over the Denver Broncos. An important game: Carolina 11-4, 5-2 on the road, travel to Atlanta to play the Falcons, who are 9-6, 4-3 at home. Injuries for the visiting Carolina Panthers: Damiere Byrd, wide receiver, is an injury reserve out. Ladarius Gunter, cornerback; Trey Turner, guard; Kirk Coleman, safety, are questionable. For the Atlanta Falcons, Levine Toilolo, tight end, is out. Alex Mack, center, is questionable. Carolina is already in the playoffs. They will win the division if they win this game and the New Orleans Saints lose. If Atlanta wins this game, they're in the playoffs. If Atlanta loses this game and Seattle wins, the Seattle Seahawks make the playoffs. If Atlanta were to win this game and the New Orleans Saints lose, I believe Atlanta cannot win the division, because both New Orleans and Carolina have 10 victories in this season. With this one, it's going to be interesting to see how much Carolina goes for it. Of course, as we said, they're playing all these games at the same time, so it's not like they'll know if the Saints won or lost where they'd be able to rest the guys, because they're already locked in the playoffs if they're playing for the division. But I'm expecting them to go for it. They still want to win the division anyway, so the Saints will be playing at the same time. Is Atlanta going to be able to stop Carolina's running attack? A lot's going to be placed on Cam Newton. Like we said, all season long, Carolina basically abandoned what they were going with when the season started. They wanted to not put so much of a workload on Cam Newton. They basically abandoned that. As the season has gone on, they've had their chances to win, so they've taken advantage of those chances, and here they are at the end of the year with a chance to win the division, and I expect them to get the victory, and certainly Seattle Seahawks fans will be happy, because that'll open the door for them. The Carolina Panthers 27-24 over the Atlanta Falcons. The Jacksonville Jaguars 10-5, 4-3 on the road, travel to Tennessee to play the Titans, who are 8-7, 5-2 at home. Jacksonville has won the division. Tennessee will get a wild card spot if they win this game. Injuries for the visiting Jaguars: Jalen Strong, wide receiver, injury reserve, out. Abri Jones, defensive tackle; Blair Brown, linebacker, are questionable. Marquise Lee, wide receiver, is out. For the Tennessee Titans, Logan Ryan, cornerback, is questionable. DeMarco Murray, running back, is out. Tennessee has really fallen off. I was expecting a lot more from them this season. They have not delivered. It's been Marcus Mariota really struggling down the stretch. They haven't run the ball particularly well, but Marcus Mariota's play simply has not been good enough these last couple weeks. I expect that trend to continue. Jacksonville really is basically locked into that 3 seed. So it's not like there's a whole lot that they will be playing for. But this is a team, there was a talk a couple weeks ago that they don't really want to come out of the game. The coach, Doug Marrone, was trying to take these guys out of the game. They're trying to build something. They're trying to establish something there. I think they're very much hungry for this game to get to 11 wins. They don't ever want to quit on this one. I think they're going to walk in there and roll over the Tennessee Titans and get the victory in this game, as Marcus Mariota continues to turn the ball over, especially against that secondary. I think it's going to be a very sloppy game for the Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who want to get back on their feet, especially after that loss to the San Francisco 49ers last week. Come away with a pretty impressive victory. I like 28-14. The San Francisco 49ers, 5-10, 2-5 on the road, travel to Los Angeles to play the Rams, who are 11-4, 4-3 at home. Injuries for the visiting 49ers: Joe Williams, running back, is an injury reserve, out. For the Los Angeles Rams, Marquis Christian, safety, Matt Longgrace, defensive end, are injury reserve outs. Cooper Kupp, wide receiver, is questionable. Mark Maron, linebacker, doubtful. Los Angeles needs this game somewhat. They have the division wrapped up. They can move up to 3. They can stay at 4. So let's see how much they're really focused on this one. San Francisco has been a completely different team since putting Jimmy Garoppolo into the starting lineup. I expect that to continue in this one. You're going to have a Rams team that went to Tennessee to wrap up the division last week. I think coming back home, they're going to be a little lax in this one, and San Francisco is just too hot at this particular moment in time, and they're going to take advantage of that and get the victory in this one as Jimmy Garoppolo continues to impress. 28-23, the San Francisco 49ers over the Los Angeles Rams. The Buffalo Bills, 8-7, 2-5 on the road, travel to Miami to play the Dolphins, who are 6-9, 4-3 at home. Injuries for the visiting Bills. Andre Holmes, wide receiver, Tavares Cadet, running back, are injured reserve outs. Sharice Wright, cornerback, is out. Deontay Thompson, wide receiver, Ryan Groy, guard, are questionable. For the Dolphins, Cameron Wake, defensive end, questionable. Matt Moore, quarterback, doubtful. Laramie Tunsil, offensive tackle, doubtful. Marquise Gray, tight end, questionable. Michael Thomas, safety, injury reserve out. Buffalo, to end their drought that they've been 17 years now without going to the playoffs, they will have to win and have either the Tennessee Titans lose, and I projected the Titans to lose, or the Baltimore Ravens to lose as well. One of those two teams, all they need is one of those two teams to lose, and they also need the Chargers to lose in that regard. If both teams were to lose and the Chargers win with the Bills, then they would both go in that scenario. So certainly a lot has to happen for the Buffalo Bills. Frankly, I think the Bills are going to get the teams they need to lose, but Buffalo would go down to Miami and embarrass themselves against a Miami team that's probably packed it in for the season. That's just what's in the Buffalo Bills' nature, and I expect it to happen in this one. Miami is going to upset the Bills, and it's going to be another year. Look, I think some calls went against the Buffalo Bills last week when they played the New England Patriots. I didn't like that overturned touchdown call, but they still, yet again, while competitive for some parts of the game, embarrassed themselves as they always do. Expect it to happen yet again in this one as the Miami Dolphins get the victory to really just demoralize the Buffalo Bills. I like 20-17. The Oakland Raiders, 6-9, 2-5 on the road, travel to Los Angeles to play the Chargers, who are 8-7, 4-3 at home. The Chargers need a win. They need then teams like Baltimore and Tennessee to lose. Injuries for the visiting Oakland Raiders. David Amerson, cornerback. Dexter McDonald, cornerback. David Sharp, offensive tackle, are questionable. Vidal Alexander, guard, doubtful. Trayvon Hester, defensive tackle, is out. For the Los Angeles Chargers, Adrian Phillips, safety, is out. The rest are questionable. Russell Okung, offensive tackle. Melvin Gordon, running back. Denzel Perryman, linebacker. And Corey Liu, defensive tackle. Oakland, you would have to expect that they've packed it in for the year. They're traveling on the road. The Chargers still have a lot to play for. Everything is in front of them. Of course, they do need some help, but with a win, they will move on and give themselves a big opportunity in this game. I don't think that the Oakland Raiders have a lot. It's been a disappointing season for them, as we've talked about. A lot of inconsistency, a lot of injuries. Phillip Rivers is going to make the plays in this game to finish off the season strong, and then they'll wait and see what happens the rest of the way to see if they can make the playoffs. The Los Angeles Chargers, 28-17 over the Oakland Raiders. The Arizona Cardinals, 7-8, 2-5 on the road, travel to Seattle to play the Seahawks, who are 9-6, 4-3 at home. Injuries for the visiting Cardinals. Josh Bynes, linebacker. Troy Nicholas, tight end. Kerwin Williams, running back. Elijah Penny, running back, are all questionable. Antoine Bethea, the safety, is an injury reserve, out. For the Seattle Seahawks, DJ Alexander, linebacker, is out. The rest are questionable. Bobby Wagner, linebacker. Luke Wilson, tight end. Luke Jokel, guard. Nick Vanette, tight end. Seattle, as we discussed, they need the victory, and then they need the Atlanta Falcons to lose. The Falcons are playing in a game, however, where both teams have a lot to play for, so it's certainly possible. Nothing would make the Arizona Cardinals happier than to upset the Seattle Seahawks, finish 500, and prevent them from making the playoffs. I expect the Cardinals to be game in this one, but Seattle, Russell Wilson is going to find a way to make all the plays in this game, as he always does, and the Seahawks come away with a tough, nitty-gritty victory, 27-24. I picked the Falcons to lose, so obviously that would mean that the Seattle Seahawks end up in the playoffs. The New Orleans Saints, 11-4, 4-3 on the road, travel to Tampa to play the Buccaneers, who are 4-11, 3-4 at home. New Orleans will win the division with a victory. If they lose and the Carolina Panthers win, they don't win the division. Of course, if they lose and Carolina loses, they still win the division. Injuries for the visiting Saints. Haloi Kakaka, defensive end. Kenny Vaccaro, safety or injury reserve outs. Turner Armstead, offensive tackle. Trey Hendrickson, defensive end. Michael Humanawanue, tight end, are all out. From the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Robert Ayers, defensive end, is doubtful. Ryan Russell, defensive end. Deshaun Jackson, wide receiver. Chris Goodwin, wide receiver, questionable. Devontae Bond, linebacker, is doubtful. I think that Tampa Bay is going to win one of these games, or these division games that they've been playing all the way down the stretch. I've gone with that. I don't think they're going to lose out, and I think they find a way to get a home victory in this one. They've played pretty competitively in these games. A lot of defensive injuries. It's going to be difficult in this one for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but they haven't quit, and I think they're going to get the victory in this one in an upset, 31-27 over the New Orleans Saints. The Cincinnati Bengals, 6-9, 2-5 on the road, travel to Baltimore and play the Ravens, who are quietly 9-6 and 5-2 at home. Baltimore can still get to 10 wins. If they win, they are in the playoffs. If they lose, things certainly open the door. Injuries for the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Mixon, running back, is questionable. Cedric Obadui, offensive tackle, out. Vontaze Burfict, linebacker, doubtful. William Jackson, the third cornerback, is questionable. For the Baltimore Ravens, Austin Howard, offensive tackle, Mike Wallace, wide receiver, Brandon Williams, defensive tackle, Patrick Ricard, defensive end, are questionable. Jeremy Maclin, wide receiver, is doubtful. Baltimore may show the potential to have a letdown in this game. Who knows? If Cincinnati comes to play, I think their front four could give Baltimore some problems. I think Baltimore's established the running game. They're starting to get the downfield pass going, and this team has been too professional over the years to let an opportunity like this slip away. The Baltimore Ravens get the victory over the Cincinnati Bengals, 30-20. Okay, for those of you listening on Get Live Radio, remember you can check out my YouTube channel, the Rich Van Tassel channel, for the recaps of all these games. We will also be getting into the playoffs as the week continues, so be sure to stay tuned for that as well. We have the wild card round. We'll take care of those things as well, but be sure to check out my YouTube channel, and we will see you next time. Have a good one. Thank you.